What's up, fam? Agent O here, and have I got a Thrant for you today? Now, the title of this Thrant is going to be called Nerdrage, Raging Against the Wrong Machine. It's not going to be so much about the fact that nerds and people in geek culture and blah blah blah. It's not the fact that we rage online about stuff. It's more about the stuff that we rage about. And we rage about a lot of things. I mean, our raging has reached such like critical proportions that it's become national news, and it's even gotten people fired from their jobs, like Adam Orth, the guy from Microsoft, who was basically named the deal with it guy because he was talking about the always online thing with Xbox One back when they had that really crappy reveal with the always online DRM and all that. And he ran off at the mouth, and people got mad, and because of it, Microsoft had to fire him in order to save face because they didn't want to lose any potential Xbox One buyers. And we also had the guy named Josh Olin from I think it was Turtle Rock Studios. He was the guy that had spoke out about Sterling and some of the fact that he felt that he should have the right to be. He does not. So he wasn't supporting that that Sterling's a racist, but that the fact that he should be able to be racist in his own home within the privacy of his own home, basically. And a lot of people got mad at that tweet that he put out, and he ended up getting fired from the studio because of it. And I think a lot of people, like I myself included, I misinterpreted his tweet, because it sounded like he was supporting the fact that the guy was racist. And a lot of other people didn't support what he was saying, because they misinterpreted, the first initial tweet. Now then he went back in and started tweeting about, to explain himself further. But my thing is this: if you can't tell a complete thought in one tweet, then I'm sorry, dude, you're doing it wrong. Like, I don't even tweet, and I know you're doing it wrong. I don't use Twitter at all, but you're fucking doing it wrong. If you can't tell what's exactly on your mind with however many characters they give you with each tweet, you can't do that, and you have to use two or three other tweets to explain yourself from about the first tweet. Then nah, man, you're doing it wrong, and I think that's probably what got him fired. But aside from that, we also have raged about how Jesse Eisenberg got cast to play as Lex Luthor. Nobody was really feeling that, or how Michael B. Jordan got casted as the Human Torch. We've raged heavily about the ugly ass Ninja Turtles, which I also took part in because I'm a big Ninja Turtles fan, and I hate the entire movie. I'm gonna end up reviewing it and blah blah blah. The list just goes on and on and on. I mean, a lot of times we also rant about the wrong things. This raging actually, I think it creates negative hype for the media. And I guess in some cases, bad news is good news, or bad hype can become good hype. It all depends on how you look at it. But I think there's other cases where the bad news actually hurt something that actually turned out to be pretty good, like the DMC reboot. You know, DMC versus DMC. All the backlash and the forum and blog trolling. I think that all that stuff, took away what turned out to be a solid game. It took away from the sales, and now we might not get a sequel where they could actually expand on the things that they established with the reboot. I actually played it and I had fun with it. I thought it was pretty solid for a beat 'em up, and we haven't had a lot of beat 'em ups in a long time. A lot of good beat 'em ups. So it was nice to get something. It was nice to get a AAA title that was a beat 'em up because we haven't had that in a long time. And also, I think another game that got hurt by all the nerd raging and pretty much deterred people from playing a game that they probably would have. But you know how people are. If enough people keep saying something's bad, you're gonna get a bunch of people who may not even know too much about that certain thing, and they might start believing it also. So that thing, I guess that actually happened with the game PlayStation All Stars. I personally never saw why anybody should really give a fuck about a game that was heavily influenced, by Smash Brothers. It's not like this is the first time video games have copied off of other video games. I think as long as people, have fun playing it, who cares? Who gives a damn? And who knows if the game had become successful and become popular enough, eventually I think maybe we could have had like a Smash Brothers All Stars crossover game on both platforms. I mean, how much more fun would that have been? So it's like, all this rage had pretty much killed any idea, any potential ideas or potential games that we could have had in the future. And in the end, gamers lost out. Like, it's not like we got saved from playing an inferior product. We lost out on games that could have been better and that could have been a lot of fun. So anyway, to make a long story short, nerds rage over the most asinine thing, but some of those things also have the potential to initiate some change, and we just need to make better choices when it comes to exercising our right to rage. I'm not saying we shouldn't rage or we shouldn't, speak out on things that we don't like, because hell, that's what the internet is for. It's one of the last few places that we can exercise our freedom of speech. So yeah, go ahead and rage out. Hulk out if you got to, but we have to use our nerd rage powers for the kind of, I guess, for the betterment of society, and not just because you know this person made this movie that I didn't like. With great nerd power comes great nerd responsibility. All right, fuck it. All right, I know that last part was really cheesy, but that's that's really, I think, the crux of this first part of my rant, and it's also, I'm going to use that as my segue to my main point of this rant, which is the fact that there seems to be little to no nerd rage, or just overall internet rage for that matter, about the soon-to-be demise of net neutrality at the hands of the FCC. Now, we rage about changes in geek culture, and we talk about the media and that we don't like, all the things about the media that we don't like all the time. But when it comes to an actual change to things that affect our lives, not enough of us are stepping up to make our voices heard. And people went up in arms when the government tried to pass SOPA and ACTA, and that was cool. That was great. People got out there and were protesting, and they were blogging, and they were making sure that our local congressmen and politicians knew that we weren't feeling this, and we were gonna stop supporting those councilmen and congressmen and people in the politicians if they vote to pass these acts, and that scared them enough to back out of whatever payouts they may have been getting from whoever the powers that be that were trying to get SOPA and ACTA passed. A lot of those guys backed out, and it got thwarted, and that's great. We need to do more stuff like that. But for some odd reason, that's not really happening with net neutrality and what the FCC is trying to do. There has been some coverage of it. Like, I haven't really seen too much about it in mainstream media. But I don't watch a lot of mainstream media. I watch more alternative media like RT America and the Young Turks, and they both have been following this since the beginning. Hell, even John Oliver, which I don't consider this alternative news, but John Oliver from that show, the HBO show Last Week Tonight, I think is what it's called. He spoke on the danger of net neutrality, and he got a lot of people riled up to the point where they went onto the FCC site and basically, complaining, putting in their complaints, and they shut down the site basically because of how much traffic they were getting. So I think part of the problem with net neutrality is that we don't know. I don't think we know a whole lot. I don't think a lot of us don't know a whole lot about net neutrality and how it works. We don't. Plus, I don't think we know too much about um, the actual rules that FCC is about to put into play here and how it affects all of us. Because in the end, this stuff is going to affect us, the consumer, and it's going to affect our pockets. I can already see that. That much I do know. So I'm going to take some time to look up, what the rules are that the FCC is trying to put out, and I suggest the rest of us, all of you guys out there, geeks and geekettes and nerds and nerdettes and all everybody just get out there and get as much info as you can. Um, but here's some of the things that I have that I not uncovered, but I've just picked up on my research, and that there's actually two different types of internet fast lanes, because this is what it's all about. It's about who gets the increased internet speed and who doesn't. Big companies like Netflix and Google and Hulu, yada yada yada. All these big internet companies, they can get fat because of the traffic and they get and the amount of money they make. They can get access to the fast lanes, and so the one internet fast lane that we know about is the one that we're used to is about paid prioritization, or the practice of companies paying internet service providers for preferential treatment. Those fast lanes actually work like a toll booth, where paying companies get to go through the gate first when traffic is congested. It's not like the greatest idea, and one that I guess the new FCC rules would allow, but it applies to the so-called last mile of connectivity, and I guess that means that the consumer doesn't have any other option. I'm not so sure. I think there's always another way, but that's what they're saying anyhow. I don't completely buy it, because there's lots of aside from Comcast and Time Warner, which are two of the biggest ISPs out there, there's lots of other ISPs that could be utilized, for to help ease the burden of excess traffic. And why those companies aren't being utilized, I don't know. But the other type of fast lane that we do that already exists, it's actually been happening for years, and the new FCC rules don't even address it. Um, there's an article on Wired, which I'm gonna put the link in the description for anybody who's interested to read up on. They explain, and this is like a three-part series about net neutrality. They explain about how plenty of large companies like Netflix and Google already enjoy the benefits of a type of fast lane that's created when they pay for the ability to connect directly to ISPs like Comcast and Verizon through special peer connections or content delivery services. And I'm going to include a graphic that is going to show it shows two images. One that shows the internet that we think we know, and the other one that shows the internet as it really is. And the internet that we think we know is basically, it's a diagram of showing how our content gets from say Google to through the internet, ISPs, through our internet service provider, the ISP, and then to us. But in actuality, what's really going on, and this is happening right now, is Google is completely bypassing what's called the backbone of the internet and going directly to like Comcast or Time Warner or Verizon, and then it's going to us. So they're bypassing all the other traffic, and they've got their own express lanes, and they pay these companies to set up direct connections between them and say Comcast, or and also to set up their own routers within Comcast, so that it gets their speed, so it gets their they get their internet speed, faster than most of everyone else. And it begs to wonder, like I wonder, why is the FCC about to begin implementing a plan that pretty much already exists? And I think it's a way for them to establish new rules so that certain people, corporations like Verizon and Comcast, maybe they're trying to privatize the internet. This is just me speculating. I don't know, but it seems like there's only a few ISP companies that all web companies have to go through, and the FCC is making it easier for these people like Comcast and the Verizons out there to determine how much web companies have to pay for faster speeds. It's like the Comcast and Verizons, the ISP providers are trying to pull like some kind of mafia protection racket or you know some kind of it almost seems criminal almost. It's like legalizing some kind of criminal act or something. And my biggest fear out of all of this is that, the biggest problem of all is whether the ISPs will grow so large that, they have like pretty much undue control over the market for fast speeds. And what if they start deciding who gets access to what connection and at what price? What if because, these companies are owned by a small amount of companies. So, like who knows, like say like Viacom or Fox News might have some ownership within, Comcast or Verizon or whatever. And, since there's only a few individuals that own all of this shit, they might not like your new alternative news website that's exposing a lot of the corruption that's going on in our government. So they might slow your internet down and put the price so high to get fast internet service that you won't even be able to pay it. Therefore, you won't get the traffic to your site, and your site goes down. It pretty much makes a good old boys club for all these already established large internet companies. Like Google and Netflix and blah blah blah, all those guys. So it's a situation that can get really messed up. And I came across an article on Gizmodo, which I'll also provide in the descriptions, that explains how we as the consumer can yell at the FCC about how much we hate its net neutrality rules. Because we really need to voice our opinions, because this is all going to fall back on us. Like, we might be able to, some people might sit there and say, well, it's the companies that have to deal with it. Like, no, it's not. The companies are going to deal with it by making you pay more for the services you already have. So, Netflix already had to pony up some money, because to get faster service. What do you call it? Hulu, which is partially owned by Comcast, Comcast was giving Hulu like way faster internet speeds than Netflix was, and in order for Netflix to compete, they had to pay the same. They had to pay whatever it was. They had to pay money in order to get more, more internet speed to get to support all the traffic that they're getting, and that all falls back on us, because that's why our Netflix bills went up. So this is going to affect us in the pockets, and I'm not really feeling that. So anyway, we should all be like on this FCC site, complaining and letting them know, what we need, that we don't like this, and that they need to go back and rework these rules that they're trying to implement. We should all be doing this. Well, I mean, not all of us. Everyone should be doing this except for you flagrant ass internet trolls. Like, you motherfuckers just need to go somewhere and sit down. We don't need to hear you guys complaining about saying how you hope that they get cancer or die from AIDS or get raped or some shit. You people know who you are, and you make all of us look bad. You make all of us not be able to be taken seriously because of your tomfoolery, trying to be funny, or trying to be as hateful as possible to a bunch of people you don't even know. You guys need to go somewhere, sit down with that shit, and shut the fuck up. We need actual constructive criticism and serious responses, letting the FCC and the government and anyone else who may see it that we don't approve of this mess. And there are other links in the article that you should also click on and check out, because the more we know about this, the more we know, the more we can take the better we can take action against some of this nonsense that people keep trying to pass under our noses. And after following the instructions, you should also take the time to email, call your state representative, and let them know, email or call or both, let them know you don't approve of it either, just in case this has to go to some kind of other vote or whatever. It won't take long. You can copy and paste your response that you made to the FCC on the FCC site to your email and send it to your congressman or your mayor or governor or whatever. We all got to be doing this because I mean the internet is like the last place, as far as I can tell, that hasn't had any kind of regulation or interference from outside, some outside factor trying to gain some semblance of control. And I mean, we need to keep it that way. I mean, after a while, they're going to, who's to say that Comcast, since they've just merged with Time Warner and have taken all their customers, who's to say that they won't start charging us for faster internet? They'll slow our speeds down, and we won't have any choice but to kowtow to these guys and pay them even more money for basic speeds. It could happen. It's just speculation right now. I don't know, but who's to say that can't happen in the future? So I mean, if we start slacking and we let them start pulling stuff like this, we'll just be leaving the door just wide open for them to try more things, to the point where even our internet freedom could be taken away. So, you know what I say? I say F the FCC and Viva Net Neutrality. That's going to be my protest slogan. I want to see something significant happen. I don't want to be working hard just so I could be working for somebody else, just so I could have some decent internet, because the internet has become such a mainstay in all of our lives that it's one of those things that it would be hard to live without it. And I don't want somebody who realizes that and feels that they can charge us any price they want and will pay for it, because they feel like they can get away with it. So that's going to do it for this Thrant. This is probably going to be the only time I ever ask you guys to actually share this video with people that just so we can get more people interested in this, and get more people actually fighting against the FCC for trying to enforce this nonsense onto all of us. I'm not that big on making videos and having the message of like, comment, and subscribe on there that YouTube makes everybody who's affiliated with them do. I can't stand that shit. I hate hearing it at the end of every video. And so if you go back and watch my videos, you'll see I don't do that shit, because I don't care about it. But I do care about this subject matter. And even if you don't share the video, at least copy the links and pass those links on to your friends, after you've read through them and everything, so that they can so that they can understand the situation that we're all going to eventually be in. Because, I mean, we're all in the same boat. So, yeah, that's going to pretty much do it for this video. I'm out. Peace.